Hello, this is a timeless reading for all the water signs, Cancer, Pisces, and Scorpio. I am using my own tarot cards, my medieval tarot deck, and we are starting with the Sun, followed by the King, the Rose, Magician, Fairy, and the Sword. The first row with the Sun and the King together, they immediately, when I pulled them, made me feel like reclaiming your authority and stabilizing it. It is not an authority that comes from external situation that you maybe didn't even have control over, or sometimes maybe you are in competition, or we are in competition with several people, and we all have the same talents, the same skills, but only one person wins the competition. And maybe for those who were judging who's the winner, it was very hard to decide. So in some cases, someone is just more lucky, and it doesn't even necessarily mean that they will always be better than everyone else. I don't mean this kind of authority that can be taken away by the change of an external situation. Whatever we win, or whatever we might at the moment be the best at, one day someone could come along and be better at something and replace us, for example, in a job. And then we might feel a little bit powerless, or that we lost authority over a situation. Maybe if you become the boss of several other people, and one day you're not anymore, you might feel like you're losing your authority. This is not the kind of authority this card represents. It's a very spiritual kind of authority. It's a very profound one. It's also something that comes from a lot of life experience and emotional and psychological depth, like experiencing very hard and burdening circumstances over a long time span in life, again and again, that other people never experienced. And this gives you some kind of inner authority, because you have seen the worst. Like maybe you have been to war, maybe you have lived in a war zone, maybe you have been abducted, maybe you grew up in an abusive household, like very, very abusive. Some kind of extreme situations that you have been through in life, and for a long time they made you feel like you're just traumatized and you're just broken somehow. But there's a switch that will turn everything around, and you will realize that whatever you have once gone through, it was some kind of spiritual path of developing a very thick and indestructible kind of spiritual, emotional, psychological, and also external authority that no one can touch. And if someone is dumb enough to even try to touch you, this person will pay a tremendous price. We have the sun next to it. It's not only positivity, transparency, light, brightness, whatever you would think represents the sun. It's all of it, but it's also heat. And the rays of the sun, they look like, they can be very painful. They look a little bit like little swords. So this is you. Like you might find a lot of satisfaction and self-confidence within yourself. And there is an aura surrounding you that comes from all of the hard life lessons and pain and trauma. That will make you energetically authoritative, naturally, that whenever someone tries to touch you, they will experience deeply within that you are indestructible. You might not even have to say something or sue someone. It might just be transmitted to them energetically and become the most painful experience of their life. This king here in the picture is someone who is not juggling with people's lives. This is someone who is very responsible, someone who is very mature, and who is someone who is very aware of the responsibility they have. This is a virtuous king. This is not an a-hole leader or a-hole boss who only thinks about himself and who exploits others. This is someone actually, who's just like the sun, giving life in a certain way. And this person might for a very long time have not been aware of that quality. Maybe this person didn't even think of themselves as virtuous or valuable. Because this person was, or you were, traumatized. We have the rose here. The rose, of course, we associate it with romance, but somehow here in this case, it reminds me more of beauty, of artistic beauty, not physical beauty, not the superficial kind of or sexual kind of beauty. It's aesthetics in form of what objects look like, but also what they smell like or taste like. So it could refer to everything: cooking, dressing, getting your hair done or someone else's hair. I don't know, it just refers to everything. Something might smell better than before. It also could indicate remodeling your entire house or apartment, or moving to a more aesthetically pleasing environment, that due to this inner shift, the external situations, the external environment will also change as well. There is something about autumn here. It's not literally in the cards. It's just a feeling that's coming towards me. There is something about the aesthetics of autumn, or that by autumn, whenever this reading finds you, it's a timeless reading. It could even be the autumn in 3 years. There is something about perfectionism. Something will be perfect. Many things or everything in your environment surrounding will be perfect in every sense. The way your new environment smells, what it looks like, what things taste like, with the fabrics of your clothes, feel like this is very important, but not in a superficial way. It also reminds me of velvet and of this king's robe, and how the king's robe has the same color as the rose. I feel like there is something about fabrics here that's very relevant, essential. Yeah, smelling and touching, feeling are the most important aesthetical changes here. We are moving into the second row, and before I started filming, I felt like I don't really want the fairy card here, because there's a negative in energy that lingers around it because of the previous reading. In the previous reading for the earth signs, I already pulled the fairy card, and it came up in an extremely negative sense. And it made me really dislike this person, and it gave me negative feelings like they're. And then I shuffled the cards and started your reading, and this card came up again. But your reading feels very, it feels very positive on one hand, and when I analyze it by reading the cards logically, it's also very positive. But there was still the lingering negativity of the previous reading, and then I thought about reshuffling everything, but I realized, no, it's on purpose. And it has something to do with your reading, the way I perceive it, the way I feel. So this fairy person might be someone who has been in your life, or someone who will soon enter your life, whom you might not like, or maybe you might extremely dislike and distrust this person because of the same reason as I just said. Maybe this fairy person that enters your life or is somewhere around you already, maybe you deeply distrust this person because this person subtly reminds you of someone else you met several years ago. Maybe you made a very bad experience with someone who had a similar voice or a similar hairstyle, or in general looked very similar to this person. Or maybe they had similar personality traits. Something about this fairy person here around you reminds you of someone who is not trustworthy, someone you made very negative experiences with. Or maybe it is literally the same person, and maybe there was some kind of misunderstanding. This card does not refer to someone who is truly toxic or dangerous. If you have someone like this in mind, where you have proof that this person is really, really bad for you, it's not this person. Then this reading might not resonate with you. In this reading, this fairy represents someone where you can later on realize that it was some kind of negative, lingering energy from a past situation. Something was a misunderstanding. And yeah, there is a magician here, and that's a weird thing here too. You could be represented by either one of these characters here. Whether you're a man or a woman, you could represent the fairy or the magician, it doesn't matter with the gender here. This magician could also be a relative or friend. Someone might be getting married, and maybe you did not like their choice. Maybe you didn't trust this new person that your friend has met. Maybe you're questioning your own choice. Maybe you met this fairy person and you feel like maybe it's not someone I want to trust, and somehow that because suddenly I feel like with a magician, there is also something negative about this person. This person is so doubtful, and this person, the magician person, might judge people or some people continuously, and everyone notices it, even though this magician person is keeping his mouth closed. He or she never speaks it out loud, but everyone can see it on this person's face, in their behavior, and in their body language. So the person judging or misjudging the other person is becoming some kind of suspect in quotes as well. Like, it's not a serious thing that this is a super terrible situation. It's just something subtle, and it's a misunderstanding, but it gives someone stomach pain. Something here is triggering. I will get to that later. But actually, something is also set in stone. Something is destiny. Someone is getting married, and it's set in stone, even though maybe even the two people marrying or one of them is suddenly becoming paranoid and suspicious. Could even be that first the magician starts to doubt the fairy, and then the fairy suddenly notices this suspicion, and then provoking the magician a little bit, or playing them some kind of prank, mocking this person, not in an extremely unhealthy and terrible way. Yes, something is set in stone, whether we or they like it or not. Something is ancient, something feels like it's from a past life. Something feels like a projection from the Middle Ages. Something looks like it's not timely, like it's not... yeah, you might even feel like being in a time machine, being put back to other centuries. I don't know where this is coming from. Not because I'm using my medieval cards. It's a very thick feeling that's entering me. There's also something about thinking that something is a myth, but actually it's not, and you will find proof that something that generations have claimed to be a myth, it's not a myth. Something is rock solid and proven. I also feel like agitation turns into provocation. Then back to agitation, and at one point into laughter. Like something is becoming ridiculous so that everyone has to laugh about it. Okay, we have, that's what I wanted to go into later, is the bottom of the deck with the goblin card that has been staring at me since the beginning of the reading. Maybe this is something that is standing between these two people, that makes them suspect each other, makes them feel triggered by each other, some kind of demonic entity. Or maybe it's representing a person that made up some rumors about someone here, and the other person started to believe it a little bit. Whoever or whatever this goblin energy is, it creates chaos and suspicion. It also creates lies. It makes people believe that things that are an actual reality are just a myth, and the other way around. It makes also people believe that lies that this goblin invented are actual realities. Someone is twisting. It's none of these people. It could just represent a spiritual force like the devil or something. This is also someone playing pranks, but they don't solve it at the end. These are not funny provocations. These are serious and sadistic kind of provocations. But even that entity cannot destroy something that is rock solid, or something that is set in stone and has been set in stone for however many decades and centuries. And somehow this is being proven. I don't know how, but that's just what it feels like. So I'm gonna leave it here. Thank you for watching.